Hey, what's going on, RYM? It's Brother Adrian here. I am super excited to be able to connect with you guys via this platform. If you haven't done so already, make sure you share this information with your friends. Invite your friends to tune in with us while we dive into the life of David on today. Now, before we do any of that, it's important for us to set the atmosphere for what God's going to do with us at this time. So we are going to jump into some praise and worship, all right? So stay tuned, and I'll be right back.
That's what we're seeing out. Come on, put them together
Seems to be no way. Come on, let's lift our hands and sing.
all right. That was some good praise and worship. I love setting the atmosphere for what God's going to do in our lives. So let's get right to it. First and foremost, hey, with everything that's going on in our world around us, we want to make sure that we capitalize on it in whatever capacity that we can. But for right now, I encourage you guys to start journaling, start doing video vlogs, something of that nature to capture the things that are going on around us right now. Because, truth be told, it's probably 20, 30 years from now, we'll look back from this on this time and just really be amazed at how things changed and how different things are. And so I encourage you guys to do something to document what's going on. Document how you're feeling about certain things. Just document how people are looking. Everybody wearing masks, looking crazy. I seen a guy wearing a diaper. Yes, a diaper. I've seen some real crazy things. I'm sure you've seen at least pictures of some crazy things too. So make sure you document that stuff. So anyways, that's out of the way. We're going to get right into it. Like I told you, we're getting into the story of David. David's a guy after God's own heart. I just love this story. One portion of David's life that we're going to focus on really is when he went up and was facing Goliath. And I think we all have a Goliath in our life at some point in time. Some people call David, they say he had little man syndrome. They say it about me too. And just because he's a little guy going up against a bigger guy, I don't think it's little man syndrome. I think as a little man, you got to be prepared because these big jokers always want to come for you. So you got to make sure that you're ready at all times, right? But no, honestly, so many times we get so caught up into what's going on around us, or the places we can't go, the things we can't do, the things we don't have, and get caught up into comparing ourselves to other people. But we have to remember that as believers, it is so important that for us to be faithful with the little things that God gives us. Just be faithful with what God gives us, whatever it is, no matter how small it seems. We got to be faithful with that thing. The Bible says, "Do as unto the Lord." So in everything that we do, we got to approach it as if we're doing it for the Lord, right? But I'm reminded of a story of my mom, Sister Gail, Mama Gail, Gigi, whatever you may know her as. She retired from her job after about 38 years there, but she started out in the mailroom. So she went from the mailroom, and then she didn't have any formal education. She went to college, but then my dad wanted her to get married, start a family, so she left, came back, and so she started in the mailroom, then went to the switchboard switchboard operator position. That sounds real ancient to a lot of y'all. But before we had all this high technology, you actually had people that had to manually transfer people where they wanted to go within the building or within a corporation. And so she did that. And then she just moved up the ranks into other departments to the point where she eventually retired at one of the highest ranking levels that she could have on the government civilian side. I believe she was the second highest ranked African American woman in the state of Texas on the government sector when she retired. And so talk about humble beginnings and being able to really allow the Lord to just take you from one level to the next, all while being faithful to Him. So that's awesome. But we're going to dive into the story of David. The story of David kind of starts off in 1 Samuel chapter 16. Samuel was called by God to go and anoint the next king of Israel. So he tells him to go to the house of Jesse, that Jesse's David's dad. So he goes, and David has 7 other brothers, so it's 8 of them. And so all 7 of the brothers are there, and Samuel, he sees his oldest brother, Eliab, and he's thinking, oh yeah, this must be who God wants me to anoint. God's like, nope. So he goes through all the brothers, and God's like, nope, none of them. And he asked him, is there another son? And he said, yeah, that's David, but he's attending a sheep right now. He's a shepherd. And he was like, well, bring him in. As soon as he sees him, God tells him that's him. So he anoints David. And Samuel, he was considering what he would look like, right? And the Bible tells us in 1 Samuel chapter 16 verse 7, it says, do not consider the appearance or his height. This was God was telling him. It said, the Lord does not look at the things man looks at. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. So it's always important that everything you face, that you approach it with the right heart, the right posture of your heart. Don't just do something just because. Make sure that your heart is in it, because God honors that, right? Okay, so moving on. So David, he was anointed as the king of Israel right there as a shepherd. He was still a shepherd, but it wasn't until some time later that he was actually appointed to be the king. So sometimes you're anointed before you're appointed, right? And so some of you guys may have been anointed, may have had people tell you that there's a call in your life, or maybe feel like you're just really passionate about something. You really feel like you have a strong desire for something. It may be sports. Some of you guys, especially my seniors, you may be really good at sports or really want to go to the next level in sports, but with everything going on with coronavirus, you feel hindered. Just know God's timing is perfect. All right, remember that God's timing is perfect, and if we're faithful with the little that we have, God will be certain to take care of us in the big things. He'll take care of the big things in our lives. So fret not and just trust God. All right, so back to David. One thing that set David apart was his love and dedication to the Lord. He loved the Lord with his whole heart, and the Lord, and he loved the things that God had blessed him with. He loved being a shepherd because he excelled at it. One thing that set him apart was the fact that he was prepared. So even when him being a shepherd, his dad sent him to take food to his brothers who were soldiers. He was taking food to them, and he got wind of what Goliath was doing, and then he was prepared. He was prepared physically because he had already wrangled a lion and a bear while he was protecting the sheep. And then he was prepared mentally. To go after a lion, you got to be super crazy or have some super crazy faith, right? And then spiritually, he was prepared. He was in tune with the Lord, and that made him spiritually bold, so he could stand before a Goliath and be ready to take him on. Right now, we're all standing before a Goliath. This coronavirus is a Goliath in our lives right now, and we have to be prepared as believers to take it on. How do we do that? The Bible tells us in 2 Timothy 4, verses 2 through 8, summarized it. It pretty much says, it tells us to be ready, prepared, in season and out of season. All right, so that giant could be anything. It could be COVID-19 messing up everything. This is your senior year. There's only so much that you could do right now. But just be prepared for whatever it is that God's going to open up. Whatever doors that God's going to open up for you, just be prepared for it, all right? So how we respond to situations or circumstances should align up with our spiritual walk, all right? So make sure that you're not speaking or operating in fear, all right? So David, back to David, we got to understand, even though he started out as a shepherd boy, God still had a plan for his life. And he had to start out in one of the lowest levels of jobs before being elevated. So had David not had the experiences that he had beforehand as a shepherd, he may not have had the confidence he had when he was facing Goliath. So starting small, sometimes it's harder, but it also can be way more important starting small than it is to finish big. Okay, just think about my own personal experience. I know when I got into sales, I was selling copiers. So if you're in sales, selling copiers or any type of door-to-door type thing is like the lowest level of anything you want to do. When I got into the job, I took a pay cut. So I was making $11,000 less than I was making when before I started that job. And I was like, man. And I kind of just worked my way up. And I was only supposed to stay at that job for about a year or two. I ended up staying there for 4 years. But I eventually moved on into medical sales, which was my ultimate goal. That was my ultimate goal 13 years ago. So it took me a while to get there, but I had to start small. But right when I thought I made it, out of the blue, I was fired. I was laid off out of the blue, not for anything that I did, but I was just laid off, man. And my wife, Misha, was pregnant at the time with Jesse. And I was like, man, I don't know what's going on, but God, I'm going to trust you. I trusted God, and just like I said earlier, his timing is perfect. So like David, we all face Goliaths in our lives. Any big enemy, big problem that threatens your peace is a Goliath in your life. Just like this coronavirus is coming to threaten our normalcy, the things that we felt was our normal, it's a Goliath in our life. But just remember that we are more than conquerors through Jesus Christ. In everything that we face, we can continue to rely on him, and he will make our path straight, regardless of what that looks like. So you guys be encouraged, and make sure that you tune in with us next week, and even for our midweek tribes. We love connecting with you, and just know we miss you tremendously. You guys have a wonderful rest of your afternoon, and we will see you soon. All right. Hey, what's going on, RYM? It's Brother Adrian here. I am super excited to be able to connect with you guys via this platform. If you haven't done so already, make sure you share this information with your friends. Invite your friends to tune in with us while we dive into the life of David on today. Now, before we do any of that, it's important for us to set the atmosphere for what God's going to do with us at this time. So we are going to jump into some praise and worship, all right? So stay tuned, and I'll be right back.